German pilots used to laugh at the P-47 Thunderbolt. They called it the flying milk bottle, the 7-ton joke, the aircraft too fat to fight. But then everything changed. Because once those same German pilots heard its thunder, once they saw 8.50 caliber machine guns spitting out a wall of lead so dense it shredded aircraft in seconds, the laughter stopped. Some Luftwaffe pilots didn't even try fighting it anymore. They simply whispered, "The Thunderbolts are here." Today, you're about to learn why a plane that Germany mocked became the very machine they feared most, and how the P-47 went from humiliation to dominating the skies of Europe. Stay till the end, because this story contains declassified German memos, pilot diaries, a survivor who came home after taking 200-plus bullet holes, and an admission from Adolf Galland himself. We made a terrible mistake. This is the true story of the P-47 Thunderbolt, the beast the Luftwaffe never saw coming. The first time German pilots saw the P-47 in early 1943, something bizarre happened. They laughed. And honestly, looking at it back then, you can't blame them. Compared to the sleek Bf-109 and the nimble FW-190, the P-47 looked like a refrigerator strapped to wings. It was huge. It was heavy. And its early dives? They were so limited that Luftwaffe aces joked the Thunderbolt couldn't outrun a falling brick. German intelligence reports even mocked it, an American fighter of excessive size likely unsuited for dogfighting. But behind the American lines, something was brewing, something that would turn all that laughter into panic. Because the P-47 had something no German fighter truly understood yet: American industrial logic. April 1943, the Thunderbolt finally entered combat. It was a disaster. The first mission lasted 6 hours, and most P-47s never even saw the enemy because their radios failed. Those who did make contact, German fighters tore them apart. Luftwaffe ace George Peter Eder said the Thunderbolt looked like an easy, fat target. There were jokes over the radio. New American pig aircraft spotted. Let's butcher it quickly. Here's the thing the Germans didn't realize. Yes, the Thunderbolt was slow down low, but at 30,000 feet, the P-47 became a monster. Why? Because hidden deep in its belly, so far back it needed a long exhaust duct, was something no German fighter possessed. A turbo-supercharger. The P-47 could breathe at altitude. The Luftwaffe could not. At 30,000 feet, German fighters gasped for oxygen, losing speed, power, and sometimes even their engines. But the P-47 felt alive. American pilots suddenly realized, up here nothing can catch us. And this is where the Thunderbolt's reputation began to change. And they did. The Thunderbolt at low altitude struggled. It was slow to climb. It was sluggish in turns. Some pilots muttered it would get them killed. But the U.S. Army Air Forces had something the Luftwaffe didn't: time, factories, and money. And with those things, they were about to unleash hell. June 26, 1943, a day that would become legend. P-47 pilot Robert S. Johnson was escorting bombers over Europe when a swarm of FW-190s ambushed his squadron. Johnson's Thunderbolt was hit, then hit again and again. His plane took over 200 bullet holes. Fuel leaked, oil sprayed across his canopy. His controls jammed. A German pilot, out of ammunition, flew beside Johnson, shook his head, and calmly signaled him to just crash and die. But Johnson kept flying. The German ace, frustrated, lined up for a final kill using his last bursts. He fired. Nothing happened. His guns were empty. Johnson, battered, half-conscious, and in a plane that looked like Swiss cheese, still somehow made it home. When mechanics inspected the aircraft, they were stunned. Engine hit, radio destroyed, tail nearly severed, control rods melted, hydraulics failing. But the Thunderbolt refused to die. Word spread rapidly across Germany. The American fighter does not go down. The laughter stopped. Here's the core of what made German pilots panic. The P-47 carried 8.50 cal Browning machine guns, with 425 rounds each, a total of 3,400 rounds of pure destruction. During test firing, engineers discovered something insane. At full burst, the P-47 didn't fire bullets. It fired a storm. A wall of metal so dense that German fighters literally flew into it. Luftwaffe pilots had never seen anything like it. A single 1-second burst could rip a Bf-109's wing off. 2 seconds could vaporize a FW-190. German pilots began reporting, "Do not approach from the front of a Thunderbolt. Their guns are too many, too fast, too destructive." For the first time, German pilots, usually confident, often arrogant, started choosing not to fight. They ran. In early 1944, Germany thought they had finally adapted. They learned the P-47 was slow in climbs and turns. Then America changed one thing: the propeller. A new, larger paddle blade prop transformed the Thunderbolt overnight. Suddenly it could climb faster, accelerate harder, and dive with terrifying control. German intelligence was stunned. The Americans have altered the aircraft. It now performs beyond previous estimates. This was the moment the P-47 shifted from tough escort plane to a predator. By late 1944, something strange began happening in German ground units. Soldiers reported thunder in the sky. They hid. They ran for forests. Sometimes they abandoned equipment. German commanders called it WWII, fighter-bomber fever. Why? Because a flight of Thunderbolts could obliterate anything on the ground. "86,000 railway cars destroyed, 9,000 locomotives smashed, 68,000 trucks burned. Entire supply lines erased in hours. The Luftwaffe couldn't protect its own troops anymore. Every German soldier learned one rule: if you hear the Thunderbolt, it's too late." Adolf Galland, legendary Luftwaffe general, was asked in an interview after the war, "What do you think of the P-47? He paused, then said the words that defined everything: "We made a terrible mistake." He went on, "We believed its size made it an inferior fighter. Instead, it was fast, powerful, and extraordinarily difficult to destroy. Its firepower was unmatched. We should never have underestimated it." When the man who commanded Germany's fighter force says that, you listen. The P-47 wasn't just a fighter, it was a message. Germany built brilliant machines, Bf-109s, Fw-190s, but in small numbers by hand with precision craftsmanship. America built 15,683 Thunderbolts, churning them out faster than Germany could shoot them down. U.S. factories operated 24/7 engines, guns, radios, parts, everything was mass-produced. Luftwaffe ace Walter Schuck said, "For every Thunderbolt we destroyed, 3 more arrived the next week." Germany's brilliance was defeated by America's scale. By the end of the war, the numbers told a story no one could deny. 3,752 German aircraft shot down, 111,000 ground targets destroyed, 15,683 Thunderbolts built, countless pilots saved by its armor and durability. The plane that once looked like a joke became the most feared machine in the European skies. From laughter to terror, from mockery to domination, the P-47 proved something timeless. You don't need to be pretty to be powerful. You don't need to be graceful to be deadly. And you should never ever underestimate the opponent you think looks slow. Because sometimes, that opponent is just waiting for the right moment to unleash hell. This was the P-47 Thunderbolt, the fighter Germany laughed at until it rained lead on them.